Football is officially back, Lions fans. And if you were hoping for a smooth, clean, feel-good return to the gridiron, well, buckle up, because that is not what we got. Under the lights and eventually the rain at Paycor Stadium, the Detroit Lions and Cincinnati Bengals kicked off their 2026 preseason slate in a game that had everything. Turnovers, trick plays, a gutsy fourth-quarter comeback, and an ending so tight it'll leave you shaking your head. Final score, Cincinnati 16, Detroit 14. Close enough to sting. Sloppy enough to remind you it's still August. Let's get one thing straight before we dive in. This was never billed as a night to see the Lions' true stars shine. Dan Campbell kept his headliners, quarterback Jared Goff, running back Jahmyr Gibbs, that's Jahmyr Gibbs, and star edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson, all parked safely on the sideline. This was a night built entirely for the roster fringe, the guys fighting for a 53-man spot, a practice squad slot, or just one more chance to prove they belong in the league. And folks, they gave us plenty to talk about. Early on, both defenses set the tone. Detroit's front got pressure right away, forcing tough throws and showing that even without Hutchinson terrorizing quarterbacks, there's real juice in this pass rush. On the other side, Bengals franchise quarterback Joe Burrow got his standard preseason cameo, playing a couple of series behind his starting offensive line and going a crisp 5 of 6 for 39 yards before handing the reins over to backup Joe Flacco, still slinging it well into his 40s. Classic preseason choreography. Get the starter a look, then get him out before anything bad happens. Detroit's first real drive actually had some juice to it. The Lions moved the ball methodically down the field, working their way to the Cincinnati 33-yard line and looking, for a moment, like they might strike first. Then it all fell apart. Rookie quarterback Luke Altmyer, thrust into the starting job after Teddy Bridgewater's stunning retirement, threw a pass that deflected off receiver Isaac T.'s hands and landed right in the arms of Bengals safety Jordan Battle. Interception number 1. And just like that, a promising drive turned into nothing. If that was a rough moment, the second quarter delivered an even rougher one. A handoff exchange between Altmyer and running back Jacob Saylors went sideways. Literally, the ball squirting loose near Detroit's own end zone and getting scooped up by Bengals defensive end Cassius Howell, Cincinnati's second-round pick, deep in Lions territory. 2 plays later, Joe Flacco found a rookie tight end in the end zone. And just like that, Cincinnati had all the momentum, right as the rain started falling harder over Paycor Stadium, like the sky itself was piling on. But here's the thing about preseason football, and honestly about this Lions team in general. There's always a silver lining buried in the mess, and tonight it came in the form of some legitimately encouraging individual performances. Jake Bates was automatic with his leg. He knocked through a 41-yard field goal to cut into Cincinnati's lead. And then, in one of the more thrilling sequences of the entire night, after the Bengals fumbled the ball away near midfield and Detroit recovered at the 43-yard line, the Lions hurried to the line and, with just 1 second showing on the clock before halftime, Bates calmly drilled a 52-yard field goal to send the game into the break as a one-score contest. That's the kind of leg you build a special teams unit around. Jacob Saylors, who we flagged as a name to watch heading into this exact game, backed it up in a big way. He showed real boast on the edge, and on one particular run, he flat-out lowered his shoulder into a Bengals defender at the end of the play just to make a statement. He also picked up a gritty 9 yards on a crucial fourth-quarter play that helped extend a Lions possession. If there was any lingering doubt about whether Saylors belongs in that crowded running back room, tonight did a lot to answer it. Jackson Meeks, the receiver-turned-tight end who bulked up nearly 20 to 25 pounds this offseason specifically for this positional switch, also got his moment, hauling in a short catch across the middle before getting popped by Bengals safety P.J. Jules. It wasn't flashy, but every single target and every single hit absorbed matters for a guy trying to lock down a crowded tight end room. Still, turnovers were the story that refused to go away for Detroit. Altmyer finished the night 13 of 22 for 130 yards, numbers that look perfectly fine on the surface, until you remember the 3 turnovers attached to his name, 2 interceptions, and that costly fumbled exchange. Backup Josh Dobbs came in and handled the middle portion of the game, but he didn't exactly light things up either, going 4 of 8 for just 32 yards. Neither quarterback found sustained rhythm, and honestly, that's precisely the kind of thing preseason football exists to expose. Better to find these hiccups now, in a game that means nothing on the scoreboard, than in September when it actually counts. Cincinnati continued padding their lead in the second half behind the automatic leg of kicker Evan McPherson, who drilled a 56-yarder and then a 41-yarder to push the Bengals' advantage to 16-6 entering the fourth quarter. But give real credit to Detroit's defense here. Even without their headline names, this unit competed hard, limiting Cincinnati to just a single offensive touchdown the entire game. Dan Campbell said afterward that he liked how his defense competed and made plays, even if it wasn't a flawless outing. And for a unit stocked with camp bodies and roster hopefuls in a first preseason game, that's a genuinely solid foundation to build on. Then came the finish, and this is where the night transformed from a forgettable exhibition into something genuinely gripping. With the clock working against them and under 2 minutes remaining, Detroit's offense finally clicked into gear. Altmyer found receiver Tarek Black, the former Michigan standout, on a beautifully designed crossing route that Black turned into a 24-yard touchdown, slicing the Bengals' lead down to 16-12. And true to form, Dan Campbell wasn't interested in settling for a tie. He immediately dialed up the 2-point conversion attempt, and Altmyer, showing off his legs this time instead of his arm, tucked it and ran it in himself to make it a 16-14 ball game with just 1:28 remaining. A meaningless preseason game had suddenly turned into can't-look-away television. Detroit needed one more break, and for a moment, it genuinely looked possible. The Lions dialed up an onside kick, an extraordinarily rare sight this early in the preseason calendar, catching everyone off guard, broadcasters included. Cincinnati recovered it, but Detroit's defense answered right back, forcing a quick 3-and-out that gave the offense one final shot at a signature comeback win on the road. Unfortunately, this is where the fairy tale ending slipped away. Altmyer, already carrying 2 turnovers on the night, threw his second interception, and with it, Detroit's comeback bid died at midfield. Cincinnati held on, 16-14, and the Lions walked off Paycor Stadium's field with a loss that stung a little more than your typical preseason opener usually does. So what do we actually walk away with here? Altmyer clearly has real rawness to work through. 3 turnovers in one preseason opener is a lot for anyone trying to cement themselves as a legitimate backup option. But his composure on that final scoring drive, and his willingness to put the ball in his own hands on the 2-point conversion, shows real competitive fire that's worth something. Jacob Saylor's continued stacking evidence for a real roster spot in the backfield. Jake Bates reaffirmed his status as one of the more reliable legs in the building. And Detroit's defense, even stripped of its biggest names, gave fans a real reason for optimism heading deeper into camp. This was preseason football at its rawest, its messiest, and honestly its most entertaining, exactly why so many of us can't help but watch even when the stars are sitting in street clothes. Nothing about tonight changes Detroit's outlook for the regular season, but the individual battles that played out under those Cincinnati lights. Those matter a great deal, and we'll be tracking every single one of them all the way through final roster cuts. Drop a comment and let me know what stood out most to you: Altmyer's rollercoaster night, Saylor's physicality, or Dan Campbell's aggressive 2-point call. And if you are loving this kind of honest, detailed Lions coverage, we are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers here on Detroit Scope, and I need your help getting us over that finish line. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and let's go Lions!